Travis Pashista. I'm from Williamsport, Pennsylvania, so I'm a long ways from home.
Yeah, I know. I'm in jeans and I have a jacket. You're like short t-shirt, flip flops. Like, this is a great. I like winter here,
dude. When I came out here, when I left the plane from Williamsport, it was 6 degrees. Got to Philly, it was 16, and then I got here and it was like 60.
Just kept going up from 6 to 16 to 60.
It was awesome.
Well, first of all, thank you for willing to be open and honest and just sharing your experience. And I know it's been cool because I remember seeing you at day one. And actually, I don't know how deep you want to get, so I'll let you. But helping you with a lot of additional stuff to make sure that you were safe and cared for.
Yeah.
And man, to see how you started and where you are now, and then the coolest thing, can I share about your dad coming down? Having your dad come up and literally you guys like seeked me out and he shook my hand and said, thank you, I'm seeing something in my son I've never seen before, and I'm like, I'm gonna get all emotional. That's cool, dude. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, but
so do I know.
Just seeing the family dynamic change and seeing who you were, and as you've stoked the true authentic you and what's going on now. So I guess we're gonna Quentin Tarantino it, like Pulp Fiction. The end comes first of how great you're doing now, and then we'll go back to the beginning. But dude, what was life like before you got here? And you don't have to church it up. I mean, how terrible was it?
It was pretty bad, actually. Honestly, like, I worked at a bar, so obviously, you get that first free drink after you get off work. So the drinking kind of was like a constant thing, like when I was like 18, 19, was constantly just smoking pot and not really drinking yet, but, I had some traumatic events when I turned 19 that turned me to drugs and alcohol, and that's where the real problem started. I never thought I had a problem with smoking pot or drinking when I was younger.
But then around that time, it just started going like
some traumatic
wildfire.
events happened, and boom, like it all hit me with a freight train, and started using cocaine and drinking heavily, And when that happened, I spiraled out of control, and it didn't, it kept going. From coke, I was like, man, I gotta stop doing coke, and I did some heroin then, and then I'm coming up 4 years clean off the heroin. Like, I managed to kick that on my own, but the cocaine came back into effect. And, after I turned 21, like, the drinking, like, originally I didn't like to drink a lot, and it just kept getting gradually worse, and, like, 1 drink wasn't enough, 2 drinks wasn't enough, 3 drinks I was feeling tipsy, and then, like, it kept going, and, it kept getting worse and worse to the point where I was carrying a chaser and a bottle of vodka around everywhere, and not just like a fifth, like I was carrying, a handle of vodka everywhere I went. And
that became your norm.
Yeah, it really did, and I'd probably go through a fifth in a day, or every 2 days, somewhere in that area. And I was spending so much money on cocaine, like it was nuts. Like when I would go back through and look at how much money in a week I would spend in cocaine or in a month, I'm disgusted. All the money that was wasted, blew it up my nose, and I don't have nothing to show for it. So. I like finally hit a point where like I ended up in a coma because I was doing Percocets and I couldn't get my Percocets anymore, so I ended up doing Tramadols. Well, I'm doing Tramadols like 2-3 times a day, and I'm talking like handfuls of like them. And like something just happened one night where I woke up and the next thing I know I was in the hospital, and they're telling me you're having a bunch of seizures. And like all this crazy stuff, and I didn't realize what was happening, but I kept having them. And
so did your family know up to that time that there was something going on?
They knew about smoking pot, but they didn't, and the drinking, like, but they didn't know the extent of the drinking. When that happened, I was going through withdrawals of alcohol while I was in the hospital, so I was having seizures when I was in the hospital from not having my alcohol. And then like the stress on top of all of it, like I would have like, I don't know what to call them, like pseudo seizures, I believe they're called, or something like that.
Yeah, different things.
And it kept happening, and I tried to get clean on my own when that first happened. So I just stopped drinking and everything else, and then finally like something just hit me one day, and I was like drinking these NA beers, and it's like, man, I can't eat enough. Like I just need a beer, and. One beer did the same thing, and it let in, but like this time.
No such thing as just one.
Oh no. And then the next thing I knew, it progressed, and so instead of the vodka now, like I wanted something stronger, and started drinking a lot of, you know, like 100 proof bourbons and whiskeys and stuff like that. And I already know that whiskey makes me mean, so I didn't know why I thought it was such a great idea, and especially mixing alcohol like that. You know, there was that time period of like the month or two before I came out here was the most blackout dates that I've had my entire drinking career. You know,
so it was progressing, more blackouts, more anger.
Oh yeah,
way some violence,
way worse. And yeah, there were a lot of times where I got drunk that I know Thanksgiving, like I'm looking back on it now, and I said a lot of stupid stuff. Like I was so messed up that I didn't remember anything that happened, you know. And yeah, it was crazy. I tried to fight some of my best friends back home, you know, and I just hit a wall. And luckily, you know, I'd been talking to a guy already about doing music and stuff like that, and I didn't know he moved from Baltimore to California. So like he was like, yeah man, I moved out here now. And I was like, oh man, like it's like a 4-hour drive from where I live. Like Baltimore wouldn't have been that bad. But I was like, man, I can't go all the way to Huntington Beach, man. And finally, I like sat in the back of my head and I messaged him a couple times. I was like, bro, if I just like sold it all, like one of my cars and stuff like that, you know, I moved out there, like, change everything up a little bit. Like, you think that would, you know, that would work? You can help me out? And he goes, yeah, man. He's like, honestly, I might be able to help you get in a sober living home. In my mind, I'm like, God, dude, I'm going to California. What do I want to live in a sober living home for? Well, that night happened, and
seeds were planted.
I just remember, like, at that point, just being broken, and like, me and the girl that I was dating at the time, like, we were on a really bad road, and it's crazy because even now that I've been here, like, I've managed to mend that, and we have such a great friendship now. You know, we still communicate, and you know, at the time though, like, I was just so broken. Like, she literally left one night, and I like was like, wow, like, this is what my life's come to. Like, everybody, like, I pushed everybody away from the drinking and the drugs. Like, I wasn't honest with anybody, you know, and I wasn't even honest with myself. Yeah. And so when that kicked in, there was
that moment of self-realization. It sounds like where it was, okay, I'm lying to myself. I can't keep living like this.
I think that's where that, you know, in the 12 steps, we realized where the surrender is, and I believe that was when my surrender like happened, you know. And when that happened, I just remember messaging him, and I was like, dude, like, he's like, do you want help? And I was like, yeah, bro, I think I needed some help. And actually, he ended up hooking me up with somebody who used to go here. His name's Dylan Finch. Which,
okay.
Yeah. So he hooked me up with him.
So he knew a guy who knew a guy.
He knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy. And Dylan calls me up, and he's like, hey man, he's like, so like I work at a different rehab, but let me, I'm gonna hook you up with somebody. He's gonna be calling you in about an hour. And I'm sitting there at the bar, and I'm like cleaning my thing, and I'm just like, all right, like, I'm hungover. Like, it's probably like 2-3 days later, and I swear, like, I'm just hungry.
So you wanted help at that point?
Yeah, by this point, but like, I couldn't stop.
I'll take phone calls.
I couldn't stop, you know? And, you know, I probably had like $300-400 left in my bank account. And I just remember, after I hung up the phone with him, probably like 10 minutes went by, and Dakota calls, which is, you know, the guy who helps you get in here and everything, for anybody who doesn't know. And, he's awesome, and you know, he called me up and he's talking to me, and we just had this discussion, and he's like, yeah man, he's like, I can have you in here next week. And in my alcoholic brain mindset, my birthday,
just gotta take care of a few things.
That's exactly what I said.
You're the only person that thinks that way. Isn't it amazing what the mind comes up with?
And the funny thing was too, like, my birthday was the next month, so like my mindset was, oh, I'll wait till next month to go. You know, I want to wait to party more. Honestly, like, if I would have done that, I probably would have done something stupid, and I probably would have never made it out here. So like, him doing that, like, was honestly probably what the stepping stones that I needed. And I just remember, you know, like, sitting there one day, and like, I just like sat there, and I remember my parents are on vacation, and I called them up, and I was like, hey, listen, I think I'm going to rehab, like, in California. And I just remember my mom just kind of like, I could tell she was tearing up. Like, cause that's all she wanted when I was in that coma and after that coma. And so, you know, basically we worked from there.
So let me ask you this, because you said you tried it on your own at first.
Yeah.
Why don't you think it worked doing it on your own?
Because I wasn't willing to surrender. I wasn't willing to find the answers that I needed. I couldn't find God. And I ended up, when I came out here, like, I ended up figuring that all out. And it was crazy because, like, first things first was, like, when my parents got home, it was 2 days before I left. 2-3 days before I left for here. And they were on vacation. And, they came back, and my dad was just like, listen, I'll buy you your plane ticket out there. Like, because I was going to spend all the money I had to buy that plane ticket to come out. And I got here.
So your parents were supportive.
Yeah, they were super supportive. Okay. And, when I got out here, like, I started to pray and stuff like that. And, like, because I'd fallen out of religion probably about, like, 5-6 years ago. But, like, I still kept my, like, Catholic roots. So, like, I was trying to...
I still know where God lives. I just don't visit as much anymore.
And I went from that to, like, I got here. And like day 2 or day 3 was when I had those seizures from the alcohol withdrawal, which was terrible. Like, I couldn't...
Yeah, it broke my heart seeing you having to go through that.
Yeah, and, like, you guys were really supportive. You guys sent me to another detox, where they had 24-hour support staff, which, like, I really appreciated that because, like, not only did you guys help me out by doing that, but they were amazing over there, And everybody was super sweet over there, just like they were over here. And, that was one of the big things that I was kind of worried about was, dang, I just left one rehab and I'm going to another detox. Like, how is this going to work out? And when I came back, I got put on to RTC. Was it RTC? Yeah, RTC. That's not it. It was before PHP. And, they gave me that day off that I came back. And then the next day, like, I was just thrown right into programming. And it went really, really smoothly. The transition was awesome, and then the God part came in that first Sunday, and I remember waking up for group, and one of the employees at the time, she had, like, came up and she asked, like, our bedroom at the time, and she comes in and she goes, and you guys want to go to church? And in my mind, like, I'm just sitting here like, nah, dude, I'm just gonna sleep, and I go to group, and then I sat there, and, like, there was just something in my head that just kept going, just do it, like, what do you have to lose? And I kept, like, I said that to myself, and I was like, all right, and I got up, dressed up real nice, and, I show up there, and it was not the kind of church that I'm used to, so that definitely threw me off, because I'm sitting in there with, like, a button-up shirt, and, like, these nice, like, slacks, and I walk in there and people are wearing flannels and t-shirts and hats in there.
Gotta be careful of those California Christians.
And I was like,
we're our own breed.
This is awesome. Like, didn't know what to expect. And, it was a really great sermon, and it was crazy because, like, when I came here, like, I really didn't, everybody always says, just throw your faith into God. And like, that was, like, when I walked in there, I started crying. Like, instant, like, that hollowness that I had that's been there for, like, ever. It just hit me, like, what am I doing, And I just remember when they called people up to come and pray to the altar. I remember just, like, walking up, and I just felt like I was one of the first people to get up and walk up there because, like, there's something just telling me, go do it.
Nice job of listening to that, though.
Yeah, it was crazy because I've had different kind of experiences like that. That was just something that's never happened before. And I walk up to the altar, and I get down on my knees, and this guy comes up, and, like, I'm still crying, I'm bawling, man. And he just looks at me and goes, well, what's wrong? And, it's probably, like, a week or two till Christmas. So, like, I'm away from family on Christmas. Like, I'm still detoxing from, like, the booze, and when I got out here, they put you on Valium or whatever to help with my seizures. And, so, like, I'm feeling all over the place.
Emotions everywhere.
And, I explained to the guy, well, this is what happened. I'm just, really upset. Like, and, like, that was that moment where, like, I really feel like God was telling me you're doing the right thing. Because he sits there and he goes, oh, yeah? He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, where are you from? And I said, Pennsylvania. And he looks at me and he goes, no way, where at? And I said, Williamsport. And he goes, no way, where at? And I was like, Williamsport. Like, and he goes, do you know where Loganton's at? And I was like, Yeah, it's like probably 30 minutes outside of there. And I was like, yeah, and he goes, well, that's where my parents live now. And growing up, when they grew up, they lived in this town called Jersey Shore. And as soon as he said that, dude, I just knew I was kind of in the right place. Because like when he said that, that's where my mom grew up, which is the craziest thing in the world. And that was that moment where it hit me that I was like, okay, like maybe I'm doing the right thing. Maybe this is all like part of the plan that I'm supposed to be on. And
so you got that internal confirmation of I'm exactly where I need to be, doing what I need to do.
And it just hit me, man. And ever since then, like it's all changed. Like
yeah, I've seen you dive into the content, and I mean not just read it, and not just intellectualize it, but ingrain it.
Yeah, I've definitely, when I came here, the mindset of all of it was you're just gonna get clean. You're gonna go get clean, you're gonna go live in a sober living home, and then you're going to, try and play music. And for me, what happened was I got here, and like, I had that short period where everything was like, and I started getting into it, and then I was like, wow, there's a lot more to this than I thought. Like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, like, starting to figure it all out. And then, like, I started doing, like, going through the motions and starting to figure everything out and hitting the AA meetings. And, I had one sponsor and my sponsor relapsed, so I had to get a second sponsor, and
it's
like
always tough going
that,
through.
It was terrible. But at the same time too, like it definitely ingrained in me that this stuff happens, and it helped push me. And it's cool because me and my old sponsor, like, he was a newcomer again. So we get to enjoy, I didn't even hit my 30-day mark yet. So he gets to enjoy watching me go up for a newcomer chip, and I get to enjoy him watching him go up and get a newcomer chip. And it was just, I don't know, it's just been an awesome thing, man. And I didn't expect to like this lifestyle the way that I like this lifestyle. I definitely, like, I was like, I dipped my foot in. I was like, oh, here we go. That's okay. And then I was like, whoosh, like, in I go. So, like, it's definitely, it's changed my whole life. Like, I'm a lot happier. I feel a lot more at peace. I've only had and I mean, I'm in a little bit of a controlled environment now, but I have, when outside presences happen that are stressful, I've been able to handle them in a way better way than in anger and, let my depression take over. I'm bipolar, and ever since I've gotten here, like, I mean, I'm still, I take the bipolar meds, but at the same time too, I don't feel like I'm crazy. Like, I don't feel like I'm just going from one mood instantly to another, to back on the ground crying again because I'm all upset and pissed off, and then like next thing I know, like I'm sitting there like slamming a wall, I'm just like.
That's a beautiful part of this process is the medication regulates the brain chemistry, gives you an even playing field, and then by really, like you said, not just diving in, but cannonballing in, all in, really working on the core stuff, which you've opened a lot of it, is getting that core stuff so when those triggers do happen, it's kind of like, I'm okay, I don't need to cope that old way that would harm me. I have so many different tools now I can actually walk through and dare I say, actually enjoy some of these foreign emotions going through, because it actually builds me and even creates that structure stronger.
Yeah.
That's huge, man.
I know, and like too, like, it's crazy because like I never really wanted to talk about a lot of the stuff that I went through and that have bothered me. And there was just at one point where, I'm in the therapist's office and like I've only ever opened up to like one therapist, and then she ended up getting another job. So like,
so tough.
Instantly I was like, nah, screw this, man. I'm never talking to another therapist again like that. And I'm fortunate enough to have Brad as my therapist.
He's awesome, isn't he?
And he's such a fantastic therapist. He's funny when he needs to be, but he's serious, when he has to be. And like, that's me to a core too, so like I really got along with him in that aspect. I didn't even go to a session yet, and like I just know from like our core groups that we have with him where we have all of us gather together, I just like can tell like he actually really genuinely cares, and he picks up on even like the littlest of things. And that, to see that, and then him bring stuff up, when you talk about them in a personal environment and make it more one-on-one to like fit your needs, it definitely has helped me be more open, be more honest. Like I've definitely sat down looking at some of the groups and like, you know, like I know even like some of the groups like you've talked about, you know, one of your personal ones that I really liked is like if you hold a relationship like this, you know, you're forcing it and it don't work like that. And then if you hold it like this, you know, I never, you know, if you need to let it go, let it go. You know, I just like look at that and I was like, wow, like if I would have known that stuff when I was so much younger.
That's the other danger part of drinking the Kool-Aid is it's like, oh, if only. It's like, no, that's human nature. We've had guys literally in their 80s come through here. I think is our oldest, and it's like, man, if I knew this. It's like we can't do that. We just say, you know what, I've got today.
But you know, I've learned to live day by day, and you know the things that I've learned through having a sponsor, through these steps, and going to the groups. I look at, you know, like there was honestly last night was a perfect example. I literally messaged a individual that I had, you know, I spent a little bit of time with that we dated, and you know, I had messaged her last night and I apologized for the stuff that I had done to her because, you know, at the time, like between the drugs and the alcohol, like it wasn't fair to her, it wasn't fair to me. I was lying to everybody, and you know, it was crazy because like she just sat there and she was like, you know, I really like I forgave you already for that, but she's like, but that was so beautifully written that like I forgive you again.
This probably, I'll tell you, it's the journey freaks a lot of people out, so they're not willing to go through it. But it's through this journey as we're progressing that life becomes so much more fulfilling, and getting moments like that of even going, I never think to do this, and then when we take ownership and we do. It doesn't always work out like that, but when it does, it's just so amazing. Of we're just like, wow, thank you for that gift.
Yeah.
I you know, I feel like I mattered. That's fantastic.
Dude, it's been crazy.
Well, it sounds like life is really good now. And then one other aspect is, how's it with the family? Because I remember you were walking like on cloud 9 after one of the sessions with your dad, and you were smiling. And a person seeing it would assume, oh, it must have been a you know, what do they call it, airy-dairy session. You're like, no, I open up about everything.
Yeah, a lot actually. You know, because my parents, like I said, they knew about me smoking pot and they knew about me drinking some beer, but they didn't know like to the aspect of how much I was drinking and how much. You know, they just kind of like assumed that I'd smoke pot every once in a while. They didn't really know, but like, you know, I was smoking pot every day. You know, and it's not like they knew about me doing cocaine as much as I did, you know, to the point where it really was a struggle. And, you know, my parents didn't know, you know, I opened up to my dad about the heroin stuff, which was huge because he had no idea. And I even told him about what happened because they drug tested me, and I literally had done heroin the night before. So they took me to a drug test center, and I knew about what was gonna happen. So what I did was I went and bought one of those drinks and it's supposed to clean out your system. And it no cocaine showed up, no heroin showed up, and, you know, the pot showed up. So, you know, I definitely, you know, talking about that stuff, like I opened up about it, and, you know, my dad opened up a little bit more about, you know, some of his regrets and, you know, the things that he absolutely looked at. And we did that session with Brad, and, you know, it was crazy because like a lot of people don't really get that chance to do that, you know, with him, to like be able to sit down in a family environment. Yeah. So I was absolutely blessed to get that shot because me and my dad, I feel like it definitely made our connection stronger. You know, when my dad was here, like he was just like, when we went to church, he came to church with us that one morning, and he literally like, I was up praying, like, and, you know, they have people come up and they have you pray with you, and, like, I thought somebody else was coming up, and I look up, and there's my dad. I've only seen my dad cry, like, a handful of times, you know, and, you know, the last time was when I came out of that coma, and, you know, he came up, and he just looked at me, and he was just, you know, insanely happy. He was, like, so happy that he was in tears, like, he's sitting there, he's telling me about how I'm trying to change my life, and you know that I found God, and he's just like, this is like something that I feel like I haven't seen in you since you were little. And you know, when I hear like that, like I literally like I feel like I have the happiness of a kid again, you know. And like when I say that, like it's just like it is pure enjoyment, you know. It is very don't really know what word that I want to use. Kind of like divine, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm right there with you.
to have that feeling of like, I'm not depressed, I'm not angry, like, I'm not sitting here trying to depend on anybody anymore, you know. And then if not them, like, you know, for that long period of time where I didn't have like anything else, like I don't feel that dependency on the drugs anymore to fill in that
awesome.
void, you know. And you know, I'm getting a little personal here, you know. Like for me, I had an incident where I had lost my son, you know, and he ended up turning out not to be my son, just so everybody's aware of like the situation. Like, you know, oh, he died. No, but it ended up, you know, it was really hard. And when that had happened, like there was just this piece of me that was gone, and I didn't know how to handle it. You know, I'm still learning. You know, I still get really upset about it, and I still get angry about it every once in a while. Not to the same extent that I used to, but I know that was a huge reason for the rage that I had felt. And you know, through that, that piece of me that was gone, you know, the drugs and the drinking and, you know, smoking pot and blah 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 and ecstasy and mushrooms and whatever I could get my hands on, you know, just to make me have that comfort for just a little bit, you know, to try and like fill in that gap, you know. And you know, at first you thought it worked, and then you think it works, and then it ends
works
up
very well
becoming
at first, but then
becomes
the
a
consequence.
very big problem, you know. And you know, I just couldn't live that way anymore, you know. And I've definitely found a lot better ways for coping, you know. I watch a lot of very inspirational videos, as you saw. And I also listen to like meditation music, and I find music that, you know, helps me to stay calm, you know, in those situations. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's times where like I'm mad and I just want to like break everything, so I throw on a couple metal records and I'm feeling better. But you know, at the same time too, I keep that like nice balance of everything, you know, the yin and yang.
We have different ways to cope. Well, man, it has been so cool to see your progression over this time, and getting to meet your dad and hearing some of that. Man, I'm so grateful that you came through here.
I'm so grateful to have people like you and this facility, man. Seriously, it's changed my life.
It's a love fest. Like, what can I say? We're all brothers and sisters. But man, thank you again for willing to share so openly and candidly. And dude, I felt the emotions that you were sharing. So I'm grateful to see the life that you're leading now.
Cool. I appreciate it.